as a doctor and you're a natural healer, this is what you do. Was this just a natural transition for you to start working with this type of energy?
Well, my experience on the spiritual path is that there's a revelation, and you expand and you achieve a kind of a new homeostasis where you are comfortable after a while and working on that level. But then all of a sudden, there's another expansion in awareness, and you become destabilized once more, and you find that level of comfort once again. In June of 2012, I saw my first unidentified flying objects. So,
Okay. Oh, now
yes.
this is getting really interesting now. All right. Now,
All
was this
right.
in Virginia or was this some
Yes, in Virginia, and I
in
wasn't looking
Virginia?
for it. Yes,
Okay. All right.
and so this again was outside of my purview. I mean, I had obviously heard stories, and I just thought, well, that's never happened to me. I've never seen a UFO. I don't know if they exist. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. It has no bearing on what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I do. But as it turned out, this was something which was blatantly obvious. It was the daytime. I was out on my deck drinking tea, nothing stronger than tea, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon in June of 2012.
Well, you do have that Irish heritage. So, Irish people do have a reputation for having a few cocktails, even in the afternoon too, as well. So it's good that you preface that with just tea. So,
Fortunately, that's not one of my issues. So that hasn't gone further than tea, the occasional wine. So again, I had been familiar with images of saucers of various types, and I thought, well, whatever. But these were much, much bigger than this. And as I immediately ran to my computer and tried to find images of the craft I saw, these were very large craft. There were people call them cigar shaped.
okay.
Um, they are snub nosed on both ends. Uh, I don't know how big they were, but they were quite large, and they were literally cruising over my house. And I lost sight of them as they went over the roof. So, I mean, I had an understanding of physics, and these weren't obeying the rules of physics that I understood. They had no wings, so how could they fly? And because they weren't flying, they were moving with a motive force that I had never heard about. They were also flying in a way that our airplanes would never fly because there would be just too much turbulence. Airplanes tend to, if they're flying in formation, they're staggered. These were one right after the other. There were no portholes, no windows. They were a silvery aluminum color in the bright sunlight. And I realized straight away that they were sending me a message. So as they were heading beyond my vision over the roof of my house, I just raised my mug of tea, and I said, "Thank you for coming." So it's like, well, I had to find out, who were these people? Where did they come from? Why are they here? And why are they flying over my house? So these were lots of questions that needed to be sorted out quickly before I could integrate this next level of understanding. So fortunately, on my first quick search, I came across a website that had just started up in Europe. It was the 2012 Portal blogspot. So
Okay.
there was a man living in Slovenia. He went under the code name of Cobra. So I read some of his stuff, and to my amazement, he was talking about a healing chamber, a tachyon healing chamber. And this was again nothing that I had ever come across before. So what the heck is a tachyon and a healing chamber? Okay. So why are these people visiting us from another sphere, another planet, another star system? And so, of course, the more I dug into that, I became aware of the importance of 2012. Remember, everybody was expecting something dramatic to happen. And I think it did. Certainly for me, it did. It was a dramatic expansion in consciousness. I needed to know as much as possible, so I had to go back to basic physics again and review the theory of relativity, the special theory of relativity, and tachyons were first defined, or at least posited, by Mr. Feinberg, who was a physicist back in the 1970s. He posited it as a way to solve some of the problems that were part of the theory of relativity, because Einstein said you cannot move faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
And that to him didn't make sense. So he posited a particle that could move faster than the speed of light. And of course, now we're very comfortable with that, because we speak about the quantum world that behaves in ways that we consider bizarre, because it's not linear and speeds don't seem to matter. It's the speed of light is just a number. So the theory behind the tachyon chamber was that and of course, this suited my knowledge of Star Trek, especially the Next Generation. Um, again, when I heard of tachyons first, I thought, well, that's just something in Star Trek. It's an interesting word, but that's all it is. It's just a word that they just came up with. However, the whole fabric of time and space, and Casey's talked about that. He called it a skein, Skein. I don't know if you have heard of that word, a skein. He
No,
talked
I
about this.
haven't.
Okay, and I had to look up the word skein. It's an old Norse word that sort of was adopted into into English in the Middle Ages. He described our experience here as being in the skein of space and time. Of course, we do live in three dimensions of space but one dimension of time. So I became aware that there's a thing called counter space,
Okay.
where you are in three dimensions of time and one dimension of space. So that's a very time bending concept, but it makes sense if you think about your dream world, because
Okay.
there you are caught in space, but you can move in time. So at that level, the astral level, the causal level, time has a different meaning and different purpose. So getting back to where we are right now, we live in that four-dimensional world of three of space and one of time. So we have to work out a way of dealing with those propensities, because the one dimension of time, unfortunately, it's a unidirectional vector, and it brings into effect what's called entropy.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that term there, entropy. So is entropy basically the idea that it's kind of like a really broad spectrum? It means about decaying. Is that
Yes,
is about decaying of matter?
yes, everything loses energy.
Okay, or
So
energy. Yes.
yes, so here, and as I develop my own understanding of our reality here, this is a construct we live in. I mean, you've heard that before, but it is. And because we live in one dimension of time, everything loses energy. So, for example, a baby is born, it's brilliant, it's filled with light, filled with energy, filled up with, as I would say, tachyons, and it goes through its developmental process. But by the time we get to about 20 years of age, we begin to lose that, if you like, clouds of glory that English poet described us as having. So we start the process of decay actually at about 20 years of age. I'm sorry to say that, but I've got gray hair and lines in my face and all that. So
Yeah, I hear
it
you.
proves entropy exists. Um, but yet there is that other aspect of reality where uh, there is a place of no time. There
Okay.
is a time. Yeah. So time is flexible. Now we have to go back, of course, to the Gnostic Gospels, and they said that the archons trapped us here in this reality. So we're caught in if you like, a vicious cycle of decay, and we pass over into another lifetime, and we go through the process again. But in terms of our spiritual identity, we are eternal beings. So this is when we talk about being gods and goddesses, we are fractals of that unified field. So our true nature is eternal.